it's aimed towards teen girls and young women. These are just ideas. I haven't exactly decided what I'm going to do yet. So maybe it's a podcast, and I'm maybe doing pay salary, bisexual dismissal, vaping and alcohol, why we do it, what ages is like the most common for people to start at, relationships, music, and body image. So yeah, my demographic is between 13 and 25 because I feel like a lot of the topics that I want to discuss very much coincide with them age groups. Like, if girls getting younger and younger where they're concerned about these issues, or where they're starting to vape or starting to smoke or starting to drink, things like that, it's getting younger and younger, so I feel like this is a very good sort of age category for that. Bisexual erasure. So when I say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a podcast on it, but it's going to flip from the podcast to the sounds of bisexual erasure, so everything that goes on in your head whilst you're thinking, oh, there's this and this happening, there's this and this. So like all the different things on there, like saying that they're a player or saying that you're going to cheat on your partner and stuff, all of that going through that person's head at once, and it's all sort of overlapped, and then it's going to flip back to the podcast and then go into a different topic. So I feel like that would be quite interesting to just have it as the point of view of the person and everything that's going through their head when someone says one of them things. Body image, we can talk about the Barbie dolls and how they literally cater to no one's body type. Victoria's Secret Angels, how it was literally made up by an old man in Ohio, and how there's a song literally all about that. Victoria's Secret is literally made for the males, it's not for the females, but it's pitched to young girls, and then young girls look at their models and are like, oh, this is what my body's supposed to look like. It's not. No one's body looks like that without working extremely hard and eating hardly nothing. Like, it's not right. So mental health, talking about mental health I feel would be quite interesting, because then again, the same thing sort of with the bisexual dismissal. So I've got anxiety, for example. So for anxiety, I could do a whole like conversation about anxiety and then flip to everything that's going through that person's head in a certain scenario, and then flip to everything that helps people with things like that, so like all the sounds and stuff. Like for me, when I'm doing work, I have to listen to like the study calming sounds, otherwise I can't get anything done, because I've just got my head going 50 miles per hour just going through literally everything, and I can't concentrate. And it's like that with a lot of different things, even just like, as Asa said, going into town, for the sounds, for him it's quite overwhelming. For me it's more, this person's looking at me, this person's doing this person's doing that. You're very aware of your surroundings, and you're like, this is going to happen, like really overthinking it and everything. So like the sounds that you can listen to whilst you're doing that, so it's going to go from what's going through that person's head to the really calming sounds and how that can help. And like just sort of, it's the contrast more than anything for that. Here's a load of different things. So I've got like everything that's going on in an anxious person's mind, what's going on in people's brains, them lyrics from that song that I was talking about, everything when it comes to body image, everything that could be going through that person's head when they read or see like the Victoria's Secret models, or looking on Instagram and seeing all these celebrities that just look nothing like them. And it's more about representation for them people and how to cope with it all, because it's not going away. You need to learn to cope with it, because we're not going to change it overnight. For sound effects, I'm gonna get some of my friends, hopefully from music, to do a soundtrack for leading into it, and I want it to be female led by people in college. I'm gonna have cheering effects for different points and stuff, because it's gonna be a bit of a debate between a few of my friends. Clicking sounds, so say when I go to play the like different what's going on in people's head, when I go to play them, there's going to be a click sound, they're like going to click on it, and then it's going to be that. So obviously there are lots of voices saying different things in different settings, therefore different background noises, so therefore I can layer loads of different sounds and have all of that sorted, and just, it's going to be chaotic, but it's going to be what goes on in people's heads. So for that I can also get primary research, because I can ask people who have anxiety and ask people who have different mental issues how they cope with it, but the sounds that help them, and also what's going on in their head before that. And then heavy breathing and cluttered sounds for the anxiety aspect, because when you're having a panic attack, your breathing gets heavier, and then I'm going to have the breathing getting heavier, and then it goes into all the calming stuff, and you can just see them relax, which is going to be the visual, is just going along with what the sound is. So important goals for me are making the voices very, very clear in the podcast itself. Comedic timing, I'm not sure if I'm going to use this yet, but it's something to look into, because my friend group is quite loud and certain things that they say might be quite funny, so we've got that just in case, so I can add laughing, or I can add different sounds. I haven't really looked into sounds too much yet, but I will be able to find something. Hurt sounds similar to the Roblox oof would be quite funny for certain things that people will say. That would be good. And then using background noises to create ambience, so that is listening to like coffee shop sounds while studying is also very helpful, so I think that could be quite an interesting thing to try and record, as well as rain sounds and things like that. So that's that. And then people I may use, so we've got James on the end, then we've got Leo, then we've got Brandon, then we've got Leon. I feel like that's quite a broad scope, because we've got James who's bi-curious, we've got myself who's bi, we've got Leo who's straight, to add a straight person's perspective into it, and then we've got Leon and Brandon who are gay. So we've got quite a few different people that we can sort of debate between, so then we get lots of different points of view. And as for sound effects, I'm asking for help with ideas on them, and just if anyone's got any questions.
You were focusing on Victoria's Secret a lot. Just a reminder, that is a fashion show as well. So
Yeah.
try and include other companies that give that same energy.
Yeah.
I don't know any from the top of my head, but I do know like every now and then, even big brands such as Louis Vuitton, they'll sometimes do
Yeah.
very showy like catwalks and stuff. So you can include that.
Yeah.
Another thing, the podcast one, an idea to like give you, because I know they have very good comedic timing, is
Yeah.
Internet Urban Legends by Lower Lane and Snitchery. Even though they talk about like urban legends,
Yeah.
but they're very chatty. Like you said, you'll be chatting and there'll be
Yeah.
a lot of laughter. Yeah, just in like, they're pretty good.
Okay, cool. Anyone else? Megan?
Playboy would also be a good one to use, because it was very like exploitative. and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, thank you. Any?
I think you could also bring in like the almost like eras. So for example, in like, I'm pretty sure it was like the 50s, like women's like desired bodies were a bit curvier.
Yeah.
But as you got into like the 90s and early 2000s, it was like very like skin thin. That
Yeah.
was like ideal. So like how no matter what, like no matter what time period it is, there's always a desired body, and you
Yeah.
can't just have your body and that be fine. There's always something that you have to change about yourself to be like ideal.
To add on to Sophie's, you can also add, like a lot of celebrities are open about it, you can also add celebrities like reactions to that, because Kim Kardashian, you know, she's had like
Yeah.
work done. But nowadays, a lot of people are going back to that slim, you know, thin figure.
Yeah.
So Kim Kardashian's took out her like implants and stuff.
Yeah.
So you can also get like celebrity reactions.
I was just going to suggest that you maybe raise the age a little bit.
Yeah.
Just coming from me, who's 27.
Yeah.
The difference in this generation and my generation, like obviously me being a part of the LGBT,
Yeah.
it's massively different. Like when I came here, I didn't really have to explain or like come out or anything. But
Yeah.
back when I was 17, like it was a big deal and people weren't really keen on that. So
Yeah.
I think maybe more like 30, 35, because
Yeah.
we're not dinosaurs. We're still very much
Yeah.
like in that community, and we're kind of like, I've heard people say like us millennials are kind of like the sister generation to the Gen Z, so they're kind of supporting each other. So I just think
Yeah.
the age maybe would be a bit more.
Yeah, I'll definitely raise it. To be
Yeah.
fair, my brother's 30 and he's sort of same as us, so
Yeah.
I'll do that. Tyler, did you?
I was just going to say about the soundboard. If you were to make your own soundboard and stuff like that for it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Can you
I've
help
already
me with
told you
that
that, yeah. Yeah. basically said like for different like kind of, so say for example like streamers sometimes they'll have like a soundboard so they can play a certain sound on command. I said I've already told her about it though, but that's
Cool. Is it me? Okay, so a lot of good stuff there. Okay, there's some interesting subjects, and my only worry with it is really, well, there's a couple of things. Is it feels like about 3 or 4, maybe even 5 episodes of a podcast rather than one. So I'm a bit worried about the scale, if that makes sense.
See, I thought about that. I was thinking about that today, like after I'd made all of this, and what I've decided I'm gonna do. You know, when people do sort of tasters for their podcast and they're like, oh, this is what it's going to include. I'm going to do a podcast and then cut it down so that it's a sort of taster and so that I have all the jumps in it. And
Alright,
then
okay.
it's going to be more of an advert for the podcast than the
Alright,
actual
okay.
podcast. It was just going to be a podcast, but then I was like, actually, I've got 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to probably just make it a sort of teaser for the
Yeah, I
podcast.
think that's
rather than
probably
anything
makes
else.
sense, because if you're covering, you know, LGBT
Yeah.
issues and body image, and then what was the other one? Missing. Doesn't matter. Anyway, there was something else. That there's a lot there, but also that actually, if you're doing a teaser or a trailer for it, that gives you a lot more options as far as sound as well. Like,
Yeah.
you know, messing around with like kind of stings and different things like
Yeah.
that, and little musical cues and stuff like. But and I think the kind of moving into how the switching between, you know, people talking about something and then going into somebody's head, that, yeah, I'll be interested to see how you achieve that, like, you know, because that could
Yeah.
either work really, really well, or it could be really, really messy, like,
Yeah.
you know. So that, yeah, I'll as part of your, you know, practical research, I would look at like testing that, like, you know, so how am
Yeah.
I going to make that transition? What's that going to sound like? How's it going to be not confusing to the audience?
I think it's very much because I do want to massively experiment with audio, because
Okay.
for the last project I've literally done nothing with the audio at
Yeah,
all.
no.
So
I mean, it's good. It's
That's
meant
the
to.
main thing. I'm just gonna set the standards really high and then hope I live up to them, and then if I don't, then it's
No. I mean, I don't get me wrong. There's a lot. I like the idea. I think doing a podcast is absolutely fine. I like the fact you've thought about, you know, which different directions you should go in. I mean, the difficulty, I suppose, when you're doing stuff like this with your mates, is that you got to remember that the people you're talking to isn't them.
yeah,
So they have to be really aware that, like, you don't slip into, you know, kind of colloquialisms, or, you know, kind of what might translate as shorthand from how you speak to each other.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Everybody does that, like, you know, you have ways of talking to each other that, like, so the other person knows straight away what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just to bear in mind that that's, if it's not clear to the audience, that could be problematic. So that's
Yeah.
something to think about, like, control. Even if things are like not scripted, but like you've got like at least kind of a running order.
yeah. I'm sort of gonna have like sentence starters for
Yeah,
what to
that's
talk
nice.
about.
Okay.
I think as well, like you were talking about, obviously, like you're talking about a lot of like female issues.
Yeah,
But like especially with like the body image one, I feel like because you have guys on it as well, it'd be nice to hear like guys' perspectives,
yeah. That's
because
what I thought.
it's not talked about a lot, and like guys do struggle with body image as well.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be cool to incorporate that as well.
Yeah.
I'm good. I think it's commendable. It's good. I mean, work on it. Right. Okay.